Did you know that beneath Minnesota's eternal ice lie caves where the air seems to glow, as if it were breathing light? Or that in its calmest lakes, mysterious lights have been seen rising from the depths, as if something were living down there? And that there are mountains that were once volcanoes, and forests where the echoes of vanished tribes can still be heard. Minnesota isn't just the land of 10,000 lakes, it's a place of buried secrets, living legends, and phenomena that science still can't explain. So get ready, because you're about to discover 50 incredible facts about Minnesota that even many Minnesotans don't dare to believe. Let's start with fact number 50. Lakes galore. More than 10,000, but actually far more. We often hear Minnesota called the land of 10,000 lakes, but that's just scratching the surface. According to official sources, Minnesota has more than 11,142 lakes of at least 10 acres in size, along with over 21,000 water bodies above 2.5 acres in size. So when someone says only 10,000 lakes, you can smile and say nice, but try double that if you count all the smaller ones. It's like saying I have 10 shirts when you actually have the whole drawer full. 49. Water flows out 3 ways. A continental level trick. Minnesota is one of the few places in the US where rainfall and rivers can drain in 3 different directions: toward the Arctic via Hudson Bay, toward the Atlantic Ocean, and toward the Gulf of Mexico. It's like a water junction state. Imagine a hub where streams split off to 3 different oceans. That makes the geography of the state uniquely placed in the heart of drainage routes. 48. The northernmost town in the contiguous US is here. In Minnesota, you'll find the town of Angle Inlet, which sits at roughly latitude 49.22 degrees and is the northernmost community in the contiguous 48 United States. If you're looking for farthest north in the lower 48, you don't have to go to Alaska. This little spot in Minnesota holds the title. Pretty cool for a state mostly thought of as Midwestern, right? 47. Shockingly long shoreline. Yes, really. One oft-quoted stat, Minnesota reportedly has about 90,000 miles of shoreline, which someone pointed out is more than California, Florida, and Hawaii combined. Caveat, that depends on how you define shoreline. Rivers, lakes, streams all count. But even if the exact number is arguable, the point stands. For a state with no ocean coastline, Minnesota still punches above its weight in terms of water edge mileage. 46. A boat for roughly every 6 people. In Minnesota, there is estimated to be 1 recreational boat for approximately every 6 residents, more than any other US state. Translation: if you line up 6 people in Minnesota, chances are one of them owns a boat. That says a lot about how ingrained boating, lakeside life, and water recreation are in the culture. Before continuing, be sure to subscribe to discover hidden stories and curiosities about every US state that no one else will tell you. 45. Home of the very first intercollegiate basketball game. On February 9th, 1895, Hamline University hosted what is recognized as the first intercollegiate basketball game in the United States, playing against what was then the Minnesota State School of Agriculture, now part of the University of Minnesota. The score, 9-3. So if you're a basketball fan, you can tip your hat. Minnesota was in on the ground floor. 44, where golf for the masses is more than just hype. According to multiple sources, the city of Minneapolis in Minnesota has more golfers per capita than any other large US city. Imagine walking into a coffee shop and overhearing 4 people talking about their upcoming tee time. Makes sense if you're in Minneapolis. 43. State motto in French. Yes, really. Minnesota's official motto is L'Étoile du Nord, the Star of the North. And yes, it's in French. The French language nod reflects the early French explorers in the region, plus a poetic sense of being the northernmost contiguous US state. 42. A running start in open heart surgery. The University of Minnesota is credited with performing the first open heart surgery and the first bone marrow transplant in the US, among other pioneering medical procedures. So Minnesota is not just about lakes and boats. It has a serious stake in cutting-edge medicine too. 41. Snowmobile invented here. In Minnesota's northern town of Roseau, the company Polaris Industries invented the modern snowmobile. Think of it, a state known for cold winters took that very fact and turned it into an invention for recreation and transport on snow. 40. A hidden slice of Europe in the US Minnesota has one of the largest concentrations of people of Norwegian and Scandinavian descent in the United States. Some reports indicate over 800,000 residents claim Norwegian ancestry. That means one could spend a weekend in Minnesota and accidentally wander into a Scandinavian-style cultural festival without ever leaving the US 39. Its rocks are older than many other states' entire geologies. In northeast Minnesota, there are rocks, gneiss, estimated to be about 3.6 billion years old. That's almost as old as the Earth's crust itself. So when you're hiking in parts of Minnesota, you're literally walking on ancient history. 38. Largest producer of certain crops. Minnesota ranks first in the US for production of sugar beets, sweet corn, peas for processing, and farm-raised turkeys. So next time you unwrap a turkey, there's a fair chance it came from Minnesota, the land of who knew agriculture and winter coexisted so well. 37. One indoor stadium, 3 major championships. The stadium, formerly known as the Metrodome in Minnesota, is the only facility in the US to have hosted a Super Bowl, a World Series, and an NCAA Final Four basketball championship. That's a trifecta few would think happens in Minnesota, but it showcases how the Twin Cities area can handle major events. 36. A direct connection to the headwaters of the Great Mississippi. Within Minnesota lies Itasca State Park, where the Mississippi River begins its 2,300 plus mile journey to the Gulf of Mexico. So if you ever want to say, I stood at the birth of one of America's mightiest rivers, Minnesota lets you do exactly that. 35. You've got to cross into Canada, or lake hop, to reach part of the state. The northwest angle is a small bit of Minnesota that is geographically isolated from the rest of the US. You either go through Canada or cross a lake to reach it by land. It's like a travel secret. Yes, I'm in Minnesota, but to drive here, I crossed into Canada. 34. A lost 40 of ancient trees. There is a parcel of land in Minnesota known as the Lost 40, which escaped logging in the 1800s because of a mapping error, leaving one of the oldest virgin pine stands in the state, some trees over 300 years old. So there's a little patch of old-growth forest hiding in plain sight thanks to a surveying oops. 33. Way more shoreline than rivers alone suggest. Minnesota alone has about 69,200 miles of natural rivers and streams. That's enough to circle the equator nearly 3 times according to some estimates. So when you think of water in Minnesota, you're not just thinking lakes, you're thinking of a vast network of flowing veins. 32. Land of inventions you use every day. Minnesota is credited with surprising innovations: the bunt pan, Scotch tape, 3M, Biscuit, Wheaties, and more. So next time you eat breakfast cereal or measure something with Scotch tape, you might tip your hat to Minnesota. 31. More boats than you might expect. I mentioned the one recreational boat for every 6 people earlier, but to put it in perspective, if Minnesota has around 5.5 to 6 million people, that could mean near 1 million boats. That's a lot of pontoons, speedboats, and fishing vessels bobbing in the lakes. 30. A massive indoor mall with its own zip life. The Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota is huge, often compared in size to more than 78 football fields. If you're a shopping fan, visiting this mall is like spending half a day in a small city dedicated to retail, rides, food, and fun. 29. More water than you might see on a map. Water bodies cover about 8.4% of Minnesota's total area, 7,328 square miles of water out of 86,938 total square miles. That's nearly 1 out of every 12 square miles in the state being water. So the lakes aren't just fringe, they're central. 28. Home to the biggest inland lake traffic you'd imagine. One of Minnesota's largest inland lakes is Lake Minnetonka, covering about 14,000 acres, famed for boating, sailboats, resorts, and lakeside culture. So if your idea of Minnesota is snow and pine trees, you'll want to expand your mental map to include luxury lake boats and lakeside restaurants. 27. A destination for winter and summer lovers. Because of lakes, cold winters, snow, and forested terrain, Minnesota supports year-round outdoor recreation, boating in summer, snowmobiling, skiing, and ice fishing in winter. The state's outdoor recreation industry recently added billions to its economy, so the cold northern place stereotype has a hidden flip side, a deeply ingrained culture of outdoor fun. 26. State tree, bird, and flower you might not know. Minnesota's state bird is the loon, its state tree the red pine, and its state flower the pink and white lady slipper. These designations reflect the importance of nature in the state's identity, even if you don't see them every day. 25. Variation in elevation that's modest but meaningful. Minnesota's lowest point is at the shore of Lake Superior, about 601 feet above sea level. Its highest point is at Eagle Mountain in Cook County at about 301 feet. That may not sound like mountains, but in a state you associate with plains and lakes, those elevation changes matter and show hidden geography. 24. The largest continuous open pit iron mine in the world. The Hull Rust Mahoning mine in Hibbing, Minnesota stretches over 8 miles long and more than 3 miles wide, earning it the title of one of the largest open pit iron ore mines on Earth. The mine began operations in 1895 and has produced hundreds of millions of tons of iron ore. It's so massive that astronauts have reportedly spotted it from space. Standing on its overlook feels like peering into an inverted mountain, a human-made canyon of red earth carved by a century of industry. 23. It's home to America's oldest continuously running theater. The Old Log Theater, located near Lake Minnetonka, opened in 1940 and has been operating ever since, making it the longest continuously running professional theater in the United States. Unlike Broadway or Hollywood stages, this cozy log-built playhouse feels like a cabin crossed with a performance hall, offering audiences everything from comedies to musicals year-round. Minnesota's dedication to arts isn't a big city thing only, it's ingrained even in the Lake Country. 22. The birthplace of Spam, the edible kind. No joke. Austin, Minnesota is where the iconic canned meat Spam was first produced by Hormel Foods in 1937. There's even a Spam museum downtown dedicated to its global fame, where you can learn how the product fueled armies, road trips, and kitchen experiments worldwide. Visitors can try themed exhibits like Spam Around the World. Whether you love it or not, Spam is as Minnesotan as snow boots and fishing gear. 21. The coldest recorded temperature in the state is shocking. If you ever doubt Minnesota's winter reputation, note this. In Tower, Minnesota, the mercury once plunged to 60 degrees in 1996. That's cold enough to freeze eyelashes and create ice fog, the kind of cold where car tires flatten overnight. And yet, Minnesotans carry on with snowmobiles, ice houses, and steaming mugs of coffee. It's less survival and more seasonal routine. 20. Ice fishing is practically a religion. In Minnesota, ice fishing isn't just a pastime, it's a cultural event. Every winter, thousands of locals tow heated ice houses onto frozen lakes to fish, socialize, and even watch sports on TV inside portable huts. There are entire ice fishing villages, complete with roads, mail delivery, and even pizzerias that deliver across the frozen lake. It's like a temporary city built on ice. Proof that Minnesotans turn even sub-zero conditions into fun. 19. The Mall of America has no central heating. It might sound unbelievable given Minnesota's cold climate, but the Mall of America doesn't have a central heating system. Instead, it stays warm using body heat from millions of visitors, heat produced by lights and skylights, and efficient insulation. Even during freezing winters, temperatures inside the mall remain comfortable. That's one more reason this mega mall is an engineering marvel, not just a shopping paradise. 18. The largest ball of twine made by one man is here. In Darwin, Minnesota, you can find the world's largest ball of twine rolled by a single person. Francis A. Johnson began rolling it in 1950, working on it 4 hours a day for nearly 30 years. The finished twine ball weighs almost 7,400 pounds and measures about 12 feet in diameter. Locals even celebrate Twine Ball Day every August. It's quirky, oddly charming, and perfectly Minnesotan, a tribute to patience, dedication, and a dash of eccentricity. 17. The sky-tinted water nickname is linguistically correct. The state's name, Minnesota, indeed, comes from the Dakota Sioux words Minnesota Makoche, roughly translating to land where the waters reflect the sky. The name isn't poetic exaggeration. When you see the lakes glimmer in hues of silver, blue, and gold under shifting clouds, it makes perfect sense. Few states wear their etymology so proudly and accurately. 16. The largest freshwater lake in the world borders Minnesota. Lake Superior, touching Minnesota's northeastern edge, holds more water than all the other Great Lakes combined and covers 31,700 square miles. It's so vast that it behaves more like an inland ocean, with tides, storms, and shipwrecks. The water is famously clear. Sometimes visibility reaches over 30 feet deep. For travelers driving the North Shore Scenic Drive, the lake seems endless, like staring into a liquid horizon, 15. Minneapolis, St. Paul. Two cities, one heartbeat. Often called the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul are separate cities but function almost as one urban organism. Together, they host around 3.6 million people, ranking as one of the largest metro areas in the Midwest. Minneapolis tends to be modern, full of skyscrapers and art scenes, while St. Paul feels more historic and quiet. It's the perfect balance, kind of like two siblings who share everything but still keep their own personalities. 14. Minneapolis has more cyclists than many warmer cities. Surprisingly, Minneapolis consistently ranks among the top US cities for biking, with over 200 miles of on-street bike lanes and trails. The Midtown Greenway, a 5.5-mile sunken trail through the city, remains busy even during snowy months. Residents bike to work, to the store, and even in blizzards, often equipped with studded tires and heated gloves. In a state where winters bite, Minnesotans still pedal strong. 13. The State Fair is basically a food festival on steroids. The Minnesota State Fair in St. Paul is one of the largest in the US, drawing more than 2 million visitors each year. Locals call it the Great Minnesota Get-Together, and it's known for outrageous food-on-a-stick creations, everything from deep-fried pickles to bacon-wrapped turkey legs. There are live concerts, agricultural exhibits, and art contests, but let's be honest, most people come for the snacks. It's where calories don't count and curiosity reigns. 12. The state has more than 60 state parks. Minnesota boasts over 60 state parks and recreation areas covering more than 227,000 acres. From the waterfalls of Gooseberry Falls to the canoe trails of Voyageurs National Park, outdoor lovers find endless options. The diversity of landscapes, prairie, forest, river, and lake, means you can go from pine-covered wilderness to open farmland within hours. It's like having an entire country's worth of terrain inside one state. 11. The northern lights regularly dance over its skies. Because of its high latitude and low light pollution in the north, Minnesota often witnesses the aurora borealis. Residents of Cook County and Ely report seeing green and purple ribbons of light on cold winter nights. No need to travel to Iceland. Minnesota offers one of the best aurora views in the continental US, especially in late fall and early spring. It's nature's free laser show. Before we get to the 10 facts that corroborate what I told you at the beginning, remember to subscribe to the channel and give it a like to become experts in American geography. 10. The Mississippi River actually begins here. At Lake Itasca, a modest lake in north-central Minnesota, you can literally walk across the Mississippi River as it begins its journey south. The headwaters are so shallow that you can step over them. A wooden sign marks the spot, making it one of those pilgrimage sites where travelers realize how small beginnings can create mighty outcomes. In this case, a river flowing 2,300 miles to the Gulf of Mexico. 9. Minnesota has more Fortune 500 companies than most states. For a state often labeled quiet, Minnesota punches far above its weight in corporate power. Companies like Target, Best Buy, General Mills, 3M, Hormel Foods, and United Health Group all call it home. The concentration of headquarters ranks among the top 10 nationwide. Maybe it's the balance between smart infrastructure and livability, or perhaps people just innovate better when surrounded by lakes. 8. Its healthcare system is world-renowned. The Mayo Clinic, located in Rochester, Minnesota, consistently ranks as the best hospital in the United States and one of the finest worldwide. Founded in the late 1800s, it became a model for integrated healthcare, combining research, teaching, and patient care. Patients come from across the globe for treatments that push medical boundaries. In other words, Minnesota's heart isn't only geographic, it's literal. 7. You can see fossils of sea creatures, in a landlocked state. Though Minnesota is far from any ocean, large parts of it were once covered by ancient seas. Fossilized remains of trilobites and prehistoric fish have been discovered in limestone formations. In fact, the state's fossil record dates back over 500 million years, telling the story of when marine life thrived where cornfields now stand. Talk about an unexpected time warp. 6. The climate breeds some of the friendliest people in America. There's a saying known as Minnesota nice, a term describing the locals' politeness, modesty, and helpfulness. While not an official fact with numbers, it's so consistent that sociologists have studied it. Whether it's helping push a stranger's car out of snow or holding doors for everyone, Minnesotans live up to the stereotype. Cold air, warm hearts, that's the formula. 5. The state has one of the largest Somali populations in the US. Minnesota, particularly the Twin Cities, is home to tens of thousands of Somali Americans, the largest such community in the nation. Minneapolis even has a neighborhood affectionately called Little Mogadishu, filled with Somali cafes, clothing shops, and markets. This vibrant population contributes significantly to the city's food, music, and entrepreneurial culture, making Minnesota one of the most globally connected states in the Midwest. 4. More shoreline than California. For real, this often repeated claim holds when you include lakes and rivers. Minnesota's total shoreline length exceeds that of California, thanks to its sheer number of water bodies. While California gets the Pacific, Minnesota gets everything else. From a kayaker's perspective, it's paradise. You could paddle a different lake every day for nearly 30 years and still not cover them all. 3. The world's first practical water skis were invented here. In 1922, teenager Ralph Samuelson of Lake City, Minnesota, fashioned 2 pine boards and tried gliding across the water, inventing water skiing. What began as a backyard experiment on Lake Pepin turned into a global sport. Today, water ski clubs still perform shows across Minnesota, paying tribute to that first ride. Once again, necessity and curiosity combine to make a worldwide hobby. 2. Minnesota is home to the largest freshwater port on the Great Lakes. The port of Duluth Superior handles more than 35 million tons of cargo annually, including iron ore, grain, and coal. Situated at the western tip of Lake Superior, it connects Midwest industry to the Atlantic via the St. Lawrence Seaway. Standing on its harbor pier, watching massive ships disappear into the horizon, it's hard to believe you're still in a landlocked state, but that's Minnesota's magic. 1. It's one of the happiest and most livable states in America. Time and again, studies place Minnesota near the top for quality of life, education, safety, and overall happiness. Low unemployment, strong community ties, abundant nature, and clean cities all contribute. Sure, winters test your spirit, but locals say it makes spring and summer even sweeter. Minnesota is proof that balance between nature and city, cold and warmth, work and play, creates a life that feels full. Now that you know these 50 facts about Minnesota, tell us, which one did you like the most, or which one surprised you the most? We'd love to read your opinion in the comments and see how many of us picked the same number. And something else many of us will probably agree on is watching the video I'm leaving on screen, because we all love sharing and learning interesting facts, and that's exactly what this video is all about. But before you watch it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give it a like. Otherwise, we might not see each other again.